Guy prints out his bully's mugshot and puts it on shirts, gives all the profits from shirt sales to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and gives all the shirts to local homeless so the bully has to see them everywhere. Getting ready to go help the local homeless by giving them these free shirts. If you would like a shirt of your own, 100% of the profits go directly to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Oh, I love that. Welcome to another video, guys. I had a rough day at work, so I figured what better way to make me feel better about myself than to read stories about people's lives getting fucked up in r/ProRevenge. So without further ado, without further introduction, let's begin. The client is not always right. I work at a big ad agency with large companies as our clients. We expect to work in partnership with our clients. We fire clients that treat us poorly. Usually we treat each other with respect. Our biggest client has 5 different teams we work with, and one of them was led by basketball dad, BD. BD was the type of necklace marshmallow who gets wasted at his kid's basketball game and starts heckling the other kids. Just a boorish asshole. He never approved of any of our work, putting out awful stuff that his internal team made, even though he is literally paying us millions of dollars to make ads for him. His product was struggling to sell and he blamed us, even though we were killing it with the other 4 teams. He didn't know this, which comes back to bite him later. However, none of this is why we needed revenge. I don't give a shit if a client wants to fail. I collect my paycheck regardless. However, he crossed several lines. 1. He was extremely sexist. He used to call my coworkers, "Oh, sweetheart," in the most condescending voice, comment on their clothes, body, and wink and smirk at me when they were talking because we were both men, I guess. These women are highly accomplished, serious people, and they are like family to me. A huge misplay on his part. BD was abusive to us. He would constantly interrupt us, tell us to shut up, call us vendors, and remind us he could fire us at any time. 3. BD would lie. He would tell his boss, actually a nice guy but too busy to check closely, that we missed deadlines or forgot deliverables because he never checked his email. We would then have to awkwardly struggle to prove BD wrong without calling him a liar so we could keep the business. And he never owned up to anything he said to us on the phone. 4. The final straw took place on a call between BD and one of my project men. I saw her run out of the room crying. She told me BD said to her in a one-on-one call that she should worry less about budgets and more about wearing that nice top she wore at our last presentation. Gross. Revenge time. I told my cool boss that our team had it with BD. We were at our wits' end with his shit. Several of my coworkers were looking for new jobs. It's hard to hire good people, so my boss asked me to give her a day to figure this out. She wanted to lose BD without the entire business. The next day, she showed up with our IT guy, who set up voice recordings on our conference lines. It's illegal to record people without consent in my state, but BD was late to every call. Too bad, because if he ever showed up on time, he would have heard the new message kicking off every call. This call is being recorded. His team heard it and had no problem with it. I suspect they hated him too. For the next 2 weeks, we recorded everything. Every word of it. One of my audio engineers made a supercut of every terrible thing BD said. Every sweetheart. Shut up. No one cares what you think. My project manager even baited him into repeating what he said about her clothes on a budget call. This time, he literally said, "You're much better at flirting than budget, sweetheart. That's why I like you." The supercut sounded insane when played all together. It was an incredible piece of evidence. We sent it to his boss, and his vice president threatened to walk away from the work 2 weeks before the product launched if BD wasn't disciplined. They immediately apologized and begged us not to leave. They said it would be handled by Monday. My one sweet project manager he had been so gross to got the best part of the revenge. She anonymously sent the supercut to his wife using the email address she had posted on LinkedIn. I don't know what became of that, but I imagine it wasn't good. On Monday, Beatty wasn't on the call. My boss snooped and found out that he had a few complaints prior and got immediately shit-canned after we sent it through. He didn't see vendors as people, so he was shocked by his words towards us counted against his 3-strike policy. Apparently, he melted down completely as he was being fired. He said it was all because we were incompetent, and the other 4 team leads had all put in their numbers and said it wasn't on our end. Their products were slaying. Wish I could have seen it. I imagined he came home to a very angry wife as well. We were all hitting the bar tonight in his honor. Fuck you, baseball dad. Ugh. People like that asshole makes my skin crawl. I'm so glad that I'm glad he's no longer working for the company, and probably for no other company like that. Bitch neighbors! I'm Reese, 19, from the UK. Bitch neighbor /TA equals BN. Old moaning hag /neighbor's mother. OMH. So, my story starts about 6 years ago. I was at middle school in year 8, and at school I was one of them students that had a TA, teaching assistant, with them at all time due to learning difficulties. Either way, one of my TAs was my next door neighbor. I never really had any issues with her, both in and out of school, but I thought she was a little bit of a bitch as she spoke down to me. After I moved to upper school and started year 9, issues began to rise with her. She lived with her mother, who was extremely unwell. An ambulance came down the street every other week for her. She started to make rude and bold accusations vaguely directed at me on the estate Facebook page. We lived on a new estate when I had done nothing wrong. As our estate was new and still being built, the developers asked homeowners to place signs on their property to direct potential customers to the show house in exchange for money. The developers asked my parents as we lived by the main roundabout in the estate. BN and OMH had a problem with this, not because the developers didn't ask them, but because the sign blocked OMH's view of the street as she stayed in all day and she's often nosy. Later in the story, you'll understand that nosy is a severe understatement. And they threatened to trespass on my parents' property and to cut down the sign if it wasn't moved to suit OMH so she could see down the road. And it was for about 6 months till the summer holidays came around. As sunny weather in the UK is a rarity, when it came around, everyone likes to enjoy it, and that includes myself. As I didn't have many friends in school, I often stayed at home and I didn't want to miss out on the weather. I decided to go play football, soccer, in the backyard. We had a goal in the back garden as my brother's about 4 to 5 years old, so they were getting interested in playing. We played all day long for a couple weeks, always making sure not to be too loud or kick the ball against the fences, but BN and OMH had a massive problem with that. OMH waited until my parents and brothers were inside and yelled over the fence, "Stop playing football!" as I was being too loud and started playing too early and finished too late. I always started playing around 9:30 a.m. and finished playing about 6 p.m. as my brothers had to go to bed. I was extremely surprised as my parents didn't believe me, but I insisted, so I decided to set up a trap and prove I wasn't lying. Everything went like a normal day. My brothers went to bed and I stayed out to clean the garden by myself. But my mom was in the garden by the back door. The back door is the only place in the garden OMH couldn't see from the upstairs window of BN's house. And then she yelled over the fence again at me, but felt more confident to poke her head over the fence as well. Big mistake. She immediately locked eyes with my mom, who was furious. My mom is tiny, so that makes her that much more terrifying when she's angry. They got into a screaming match, and OMH threw in my mom's face that I had autism. I didn't. I was tested in middle school, but nothing conclusive. And then said how her daughter, Bien, told her. This was a clear violation of the student confidentiality agreement that all employees at the school signed. Turns out, Bien forgot that agreement also included former students. Bien tried to be smart and ask for evidence. She had CCTV cameras on her property pointed at my parents in an attempt to catch me in the act of the false accusations made against me. She was stupid enough to give the footage over to the school to prove her case, that she didn't realize that the cameras also had audio footage as well. The whole screaming match was heard clear as day. Bien was fired and barred from working with a child for life. Not just that, but I also went out of my way to push charges and get her in trouble with the law. The court date was set in about 12 months. We live in a rough and poorly underfunded county/state. And in those 12 months, she made our lives hell. And Bien didn't care if it meant pissing off other people as well. She had double yellow lines placed all over the estate. It means no parking. So no one could park on the street, and only in the laybys, which few. She also parked in the middle of the lay-by outside my parents' house, and she sprayed my brothers and I with water while we were playing in the garden. She also didn't clean her dog shit when it pooped in the front of our house. She threatened to slash my parents' tires if we cut her tree, branches which were dangling over the fence and making our garden a wreck. Bien and OMH would listen to the people's private conversations and then spread it around the estate like gossip. They may not sound like much, but trust me, it got to the point that every time an ambulance came down the road, my mom and I would pray this time OMH would walk towards the light for good. The court date came and Bien was found guilty. She was sent to prison for a year. But because OMH couldn't physically look after herself, she got shipped off to a care home while Bien done her time. By the time she got released, we had already moved, but felt good knowing she was forced to complete the whole of her sentence. Not bad for an autistic kid. Not bad indeed. There's nothing more satisfying when it comes to revenge than watching the people hang themselves with the rope you give them. Providing the tapes, how stupid can some people be? Well, very stupid is the answer to that. Anyways, that concludes today's videos. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope you guys got a couple laughs out of it. If you guys liked what you saw, click that like button. If you guys really liked what you saw, click the subscribe button. Remember, I am still shooting for the stars at that 100 subscriber count, or for that 100 subscriber count. And when I reach that 100 subscriber count, I will do a very special r/episode. Thank you very much for your guys' time. Thank you very much for your guys' support. Have a good day. Have a great night. Have a great whatever you decide to have. And I hope to see y'all next time.